So we're back again this week. David's here.
Hey guys, I'm Nick. This week we want to talk a couple topics with you guys. We want to talk credit cards, kind of everything to do with those, some debt consolidations and debt collections and how to. But I think our biggest focus tonight is going to be credit cards, the pros, the cons to them, and a couple different life situations, how to handle them in every step of life. So thanks guys for joining us.
Yeah, you're going to hear some different backgrounds here. Like Umar and I both have many credit cards, well over 20 each. Mike and Nick both have way less than what we do. So you're going to hear a little bit different experience from all of us and kind of what we do with them. So there's different options for credit cards, obviously. So there's the thing we will always steer you towards is if you're getting a credit card, you need to get something for that credit, okay? I do not own a card that simply just allows me to use it. If I'm going to have it, it's going to give me travel options. It's going to give me cash back. It's going to give me gift cards. It's going to give me something. Most people view credit cards as the banks are giving it to you, so it's okay if you have to pay for it. I don't view it that way. If the bank's giving it to me, I'm going to make money off of it. Otherwise, I don't want it. I have no interest whatsoever. So the majority of the cards I have are rewards cards. I live and die with Capital One. I have a Quicksilver. I have a Venture. I have a Saver. I have a rewards card with them. My wife also has a Quicksilver. My daughter also has a Quicksilver. I'm a big fan of Capital One because they give you, usually 1.5% back on all your purchases. I love that. I want stuff back. There's a lot of different options out there for rewards. You can go with those type of things from Capital One. Citi has a double cash back card where you get 2% on purchases. They give you 1% up front when you buy it and another percent back when you pay the bill. I've had some Citi cards in the past. Usually it's, to get stuff back for gift cards and stuff. I'm not a gift card guy. I don't need a Walmart gift card. I'd rather, have cash. Cash is king. Chase has some different options. I do have a Chase card that I use. My Chase card, I think Mike has the same one I do. It's an Amazon card.
Yep.
So you use your Chase card at Amazon, they give you 5% back. You can use those reward points anytime you want for free stuff. I don't buy everything off Amazon because, I'm not a huge, big company type guy. But I buy the easy stuff. I don't go to the store and buy toilet paper. I buy toilet paper off Amazon. They send it to me every couple months. So you're going to give me free? I'm going to use that. Even business-wise, every card my wife has opened for our business, they've all had some kind of rewards tied to it. So if you're going to go out there, you're going to get some of those cards, you got to jump on reward options, something, anything. So that's kind of my little spiel. If you guys got something to add to that as far as the rewards go before we get to travel, please do.
Well, so, and I don't own many credit cards. I think I have one. Credit is still the credit's still open there on the one that I have. Quick funny story. I don't use it so often. I got it when I was younger. The credit just kind of built up on it. I had a Sunday purchase that I was going to do, and I for some reason my banking was down, so I had to use a credit card, and it got declined. And I was like, I have a pretty good open limit on this thing, and the lady's like, nope, it's declined. And I was like, try again. I was like, I have zero balance. Try again. Well, come to find out, the credit card had been expired for 3 years. So, that's how often I use credit cards. But being in the real estate business, I guess, I've talked to a lot of my friends that do it, right? So they pay everything with their credit card. You know, all their business meals, all their flooring that they're going to put in, everything. They put it on their credit card and pay it off because, you know, it's guaranteed spending. So I know with like the Home Depot specific card, right, funded by them, they'll get 18 months, 0 interest. Plus they'll get, you know, 10% off or 20% off right away just for using their card. So, you know, it's a huge savings for them just to have it right away, and they're getting, you know, interest free. You know, same with Lowe's. You know, these guys are using the benefits of them. They don't give you cash back, but right, they give you usually discounts kind of right up front just for carrying it, and interest free depending on when you sign up. You know, a lot of things is you have to ask, you know, once in a while you have to ask for it, right? So your 18 months is up, and let's say you have to go buy another refrigerator. You just go, hey, can I get 18 months? And on the register, they're like, yep, we can do that, and they just make it happen. So I find that to be a huge benefit for a lot of my friends that have credit cards.
You guys got anything you want to throw in there?
I was going to add, even though you don't really like the gift card situation, sometimes it can be beneficial because I know, for instance, my Ever card, if I have $50 or $40 worth of cash back, I can use that $40 worth of cash back to get a $50 gift card, thereby just, you know, just adding to the benefit. That's something some people may not know about.
Yeah, and that's a great option. I mean, if you can buy up, always buy up.
Well, I know I'm a little younger than some of you guys, even some people, and I'm a little older than some people that are probably going to be watching this, right? Back when I was 18, kind of getting started into the credit card game, I could use my debit card back then and earn points for everything that I had. And then the federal government stepped in and said, no, you're not allowed to do that. You know, debit cards can't be linked to rewards and things like that. So it kind of stopped me from getting used to that mindset. I still loved it. Like, I mean, I remember, gosh, being young, I would cash out, you know, $180 or something just in cash, just randomly, and I was like, perfect. You know, it's this thing's paid for. So you know, I know building up the cash or building up, you know, as Umar said, hey, you know, if you know that you're going to go buy anything, you know, even in Amazon, yeah, if you can turn 40 into 50, that's, you know, that's 20% right there extra that they're giving me. If I'm already going to go buy something, or I have a couple of friends that have Cabela's credit cards. They get all their points, and then they'll buy Cabela's cards. They'll go buy a brand new gun, and usually it's paid for. You know, they save up their $50 gift cards each time, and it pays for itself. So.
Well, that's a good point too. So, like, I have different cards that are used for different situations. So, Speedway offers a card. I always use my Speedway card at Speedway. I cash that out for Amazon gift card so that I have, you know, if there's a big purchase I want to make on Amazon, now I get to make that for less because I have all these Speedway points that I saved up to get a gift card. If I go to a different gas station, I have a Bank of America card that gives me 3% on gas, so I use that card there. They do give cash, so, you know, I'm always happy with that. I got a couple of American Express cards that give different rewards. One of them's a Hilton Honors card, so it gives you Hilton Honors points, which, you know, if I'm going to stay at a hotel, that's usually my preferred chain because I have, you know, a bunch of points there to use. It just kind of depends on what you value and what you want. So I think that kind of segues us a little bit into the travel cards here. So my American Express Hilton card, that's free. There's no annual fee on that, which when you look at credit cards for travel, that's not typically the norm. With the best travel reward credit cards out there, you have to pay for. So, you know, whether it's an airline or a hotel, if you're paying for an annual fee for that card, they're going to give you better rewards. If you're just at a free level with that card, you're obviously going to earn at a much slower rate, which, you know, for me is fine. I don't take a ton of vacations. You know, we're working a lot. I got 3 jobs. So I'm not as worried about traveling and tapping into those things at this point in my life as what I hope to be in, you know, 10 years from now, where I would hope I'm traveling a lot more and able to tap into some of that stuff. So when you look at some of these cards out there, you know, most of them average somewhere between $100 a year to $600 a year. And depending on what the card is, tells you what you're going to get. So the Chase has a Sapphire Reserve, which gives you travel credits, 3% on travel, 3% on dining, $1,000 sign-up bonus, but it's $550 a year for that card. So you're going to earn quick, but you're also going to spend money for that. Whereas, you know, if you get a Capital One Venture card, they have one that has a no annual fee. You're only getting 1.25% back on all purchases. So you're obviously earning at a much lower rate. Those are things when you're looking into, you have to figure out, okay, what's more important to me? Is it worth paying nothing a year and earning slower, or should I pay, you know, yearly for this and earn at a much faster rate? Now, I know Nick vacations 2-3 times a year, doesn't always fly though. So sometimes it might be in his best interest to look into some of these travel cards. It might not be, depending on where they decide to go in a given year. Am I right or wrong, Nick?
Yeah, and it's you know, trust me, it's one of those things that I personally look into quite a bit, because I am stepping up my traveling. You know, we are seeing we're going away more often. I wouldn't mind having those rewards, but I'm so stingy that I won't spend $100 on an annual fee. You know, even though I'll have potential to make it back, it's just not a thing. It's not a thing that I want to do. And it's something I have to get over, you know, and I have to learn to be more responsible in figuring out what my percent back is going to be and if it's going to be worth it. You know, if I did it this year, I'd be pretty irritated, right? I mean, nobody's traveling for these next 4 or 5 months type of a thing. So, you know, it's not beneficial. You know, we looked at, you know, you talked about Chase and, you know, we looked at, there's one where you can get a companion pass if you get, you know, 120,000 points, right? But if you open 2 Chase cards on the same day, you know, spend your $3,000 to get it, you'll get your 120,000 points right away, and you get a companion pass. So they fly for the price of of tax, you know, sales tax to wherever the heck you're going, and a couple little, you know, small, you know, $12 basically for a round trip ticket somewhere for you and your wife, or whoever you name as that companion. It's specific to one person though. You know, there's so many points out there, you know, and I know that some of the credit cards they'll offer, you know, 5% or, you know, 5 times the points on, 5 times the points on certain purchases, depends on where you're going. So when it comes to credit cards, really, to my opinion, is look at what your lifestyle is, what you do normally. I mean, if you're buying groceries and getting gas, right, I can't guarantee that a travel one is going to be perfect for you. You know, we basically fly every 2 years to some big destination, and then we go camping or to a lodge or something every other year or so. You know, my daughter is getting older, so right, we're gonna start paying for her to fly. So you know, it might come down to be nice to do that. But you know, really, to me, it's you know, take a look at your life. If you're doing a lot of spending and you have a higher income, right? Some of these pay for credit cards might be worth
it. So we're going to kind of segue into one of the questions that came up. So Nick and I are in several different money communities, and one of them, there was a guy named Ed that was asking about credit cards because he wanted to know more information. And I kind of, you know, Nick sent me the message and I went out there and I said, hey, actually, we're going to do a YouTube video about this today. So him and I talked a little bit, and he's from Australia. So I did a little research on Australian credit cards so I could help Ed out here so he could know some things. So some differences in credit cards, obviously, in different countries. So the four of us are based in the United States. We have a lot of options when it comes to no annual fee credit cards. In other countries, you don't necessarily have that. So a lot of the credit cards I looked up in Australia, they have annual fees, you know, anywhere from 60 Australian dollars a year on up to $200-300 Australian a year. So of course, I'm always looking for value. So looking into this for Ed, the one that stuck out for me is there's a Qantas American Express Discover card. Now, Qantas is an airline. You earn 0.75 Qantas points for any purchase. There's no cap on it. There's no annual fee. So you can put that towards travel. If I'm obviously living in Australia, which I'm not, if I am, that would probably be my first choice for a credit card because they're giving me stuff I don't have to necessarily pay for it. So there's a lot of other options out there. Now I know Ed's pretty young, so he's still building credit, I believe. You know, when we were talking, he said that he had, he's been on his parents' credit cards for a while, so he does have some credit established, which is great. So, you know, just talking about that, having credit established thing, I was probably 13 when my mother put me on her credit card, so I always had credit. I did the same thing with my daughter. She was probably 12, and I stuck her on my credit card, so she's always had great credit. If you can do that with your kids, that's a wonderful thing because you're paying the bill. You don't even have to give them the card. They're going to build credit right along with whatever you're doing. So I always recommend, you know, when they hit their early teen years, put them on your card. You pay the bills. They're building credit. Obviously, you have to be responsible. You can't sit there and default on these cards because then it destroys their credit and they're going to be pissed off at you, coming at you and, you know, kicking you. And I don't blame them for that. But as long as you're responsible with it, you can sit there and build credit for your kids, and they don't have to worry about that when, you know, they're hitting adulthood and they go off to college, let's say, and people are predators preying on them saying, here, I'll give you a credit card. You don't have to pay anything, and it's just free money. Because that's what happens to a lot of these kids when they get to college, and then they rack up all these bills. So kind of going back to the Australian thing so we can help Ed out a little bit here. There are some different options out there. You know, there are some lower annual fees. ANZ has a low rate card, which is free for the first year. They offer you, you know, it's $58 Australian after that. It's a little bit lower interest rate if you had to carry an interest rate, which I am never a fan of. Do not carry that over, pay that bill off every month.
Yeah, I think that's a big key, even for credit cards everywhere. Like,
yeah.
David and I want to be very clear to people. Credit cards are tools. They're not toys, right? This isn't for people that are known to go into debt. Like, this is not a debt thing that you want to play with. If you are going to pay off your bills every month and treat them like a utility bill or something like that you pay, right? A credit card is a possibility to help you just a little bit better. Really, you know, we are very no debt type of people for credit cards.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with Nick. I do not advocate running up debt. It's not good to have it. You want to pay off things as quickly as you can. We're not looking at, you know, showing some long history of, you know, I was able to carry this $10,000 debt for 5 years and pay it off. We're trying to show how to make money off of these cards. So even looking, you know, in Australia, the only other card that I like, there's a Virgin Money no annual fee credit card, because again, I'm for no annual fees. That gives you a 0% rate for up to 12 months. So that's something we have not talked about yet. I'm a firm believer in, if somebody offers you a 0% rate, and that's something you know you can pay off within whatever X number of date that is, take it. Take it, pay it off in time. that helps you establish credit a little bit quicker because now you're making payments, which is a great thing to do. If you're making payments, they see a nice payment history. You're not accruing any added debt to that, but you have to make sure you pay that off before that time is up. Otherwise, they're charging you interest from day one on the highest value that you had on that card.
Yeah. Well, I say, you know, I know with here, a lot of places will offer you credit cards for, you know, again, it goes back to like the 20% debt, you know, if you open a credit card, you'll save, you know, 20% of your full purchase today. And, you know, and that's a good thing if you have a substantial purchase that you're doing. I know we did it once for furniture. They offered us 0% interest and 20% off just for buying and opening the credit card. So I was like, I could pay cash and not save money, or I could save money by just having them pull my credit, and 0% interest. So I was fine with that, you know, because I had to open it, and then 2 days later I could just go pay it off after it went into the system. So of course I'm gonna take that. Yeah, I think with Ed in Australia, you know, the biggest key is you're younger. I don't know your income, to be honest. You know, responsibility is a big thing. Are you gonna pay it off? And are you using it on a constant more than just gasoline and groceries? You know, if you're not, you know, just a 0% or a zero annual fee. One of the two that David had mentioned, I think is pretty much your go-to for that.
Yeah, I'm always a big advocate for save as much money as you can. And again, Nick said it before, use this as a tool. This is a great tool to have. It's everything we talk about, you know, in the last 3 episodes we've done, and this one going forward, it's all something for your toolkit. Take something from this, stick it in your toolkit, figure out how to make it work. If you can do that and take something that we've said and make that your own, that's fantastic. That's what we're looking for, because, you know, it's taken me 42 years to figure out some of these things. It's taken Nick 32 years-ish, because I think he's about 32.
I guess 6 months.
So, you know,
oh my gosh, I got like 3 months.
We're hoping that, you know, everybody can, you know, take stuff from this, because not everybody knows. So, you know, not to divulge from this a little bit, but Mike and I, we've been friends for a long, long time. After he got divorced, him and I sat down and looked at his finances, because I said, hey, I think I can help you here with some things. And literally all we did was talk about what he had. I made a couple minor suggestions. And he goes, yeah, those couple things make sense. He took a little bit. He didn't take some other things. And that's all I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily saying you should do everything I do. It works for me. Take one thing that I do, make it work for you. So one of the other questions Nick and I saw was, somebody has a credit card, they've had it for a long time. Now the credit card is just charged an annual fee. They don't have a balance on the card. They barely use it. They want to know what to do. So before I answer my thoughts, I'm gonna throw it out there to you, Nick. What do you think?
So, I mean, my thought is I'm the kind of person where time and money. So I'm always going to call and say, you know, figure out what happened, why I have an annual fee. It's been so long that I've had it. So if I like the company and they treated me well and I have great points, you know, I'm going to say, hey, I'd like this annual fee waived. I don't want an annual fee anymore. If I, you know, I mean, carrying a no balance, you know, not really using it, it's not doing much benefit for them. If they have a bunch of points built up, yeah, you know, cash out points, do all that. I close the credit card and just kind of open another one with zero annual fee, 0 interest. You know, really, that's what I would do personally in my situation. You know, I'm not gonna pay for something that I don't use. Hence it goes back to why I don't have great internet for this or cable. I don't. If I'm going to use it, to be out and about.
So Nick brings up a great point. Probably the only thing I would do differently is when I call them and find out if they'll waive that fee. If they decide to play hardball, nope, we're not waiving that fee. We're not making any money off of you, so you're just going to pay this fee and whatever. I'm going to go and get a new credit card first. then I'm going to call and cancel the other one, because what you're looking for here is certain credit factors go into what your credit score is. One of them is how much available credit do you have. So if you go and close that card, let's say it's a $10,000 limit and you close it, now you've just decreased your debt to income ratio, you just decreased the available amount of open credit that you have, and you may have taken away the option to get a card in the near future, because banks will not see you as good of a risk as what you were before, because you had this open credit and you had this lower debt to income ratio. So those are things to take into account before you decide to close an account. There are other things that work into your credit score, inquiries that you have. Don't go and apply for 15 credit cards at once. Umar and I both have said we have over 20 each, probably close to 30 for both of us. We didn't get those all in the same year because they're not going to do that. You get one here, you get one there. The more inquiries you have, the worse of a credit risk you are, because they figure, okay, well, he's just going to run up credit or she's just going to run up credit. They don't want to put themselves in a situation where you're going to go bankrupt or default, or it has to go to collections, because they're losing money if any of those things happen. And they're in the business to make money, just like we are.
I'm going to say, I think, adding on to that, kind of, what credit is and how it's looked at is what your personal value is, the ability to pay back the amount that you borrow, right? So, I know from personal experiences, right? When I first started out at 18, I wasn't like David. I didn't get put on a credit card. My mom is actually completely against credit cards, never had one, won't sign up for anything. She's, 58 years old or something like that right now. And I finally got her to do a debit card. No lie. Sundays, she used to call me to borrow money for Sundays because the banks were closed. So, but with that, it's your, they look at it as, again, your ability to pay back that money. So I started out, I was a college kid, going to school for nothing, but they gave me a $500 limit, and I went out and kind of, I opened it up. I heard that if you get a credit card, it helps you build credit. So I opened it, spent money, and paid it off. I'll be honest, in the beginning, I paid some interest because I thought that's what would help me build credit, was like paying them money to let me get a bigger credit score. And then, randomly they sent me a note that my credit had gone up to $1,000, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even ask for it. Didn't know what that was, but that was me building credit. Me having the ability to pay it off. So, then they canceled the student credit card and gave me like a $2,000 regular credit card. They canceled it on me, and then honestly from there it went to a $5,000, $10,000 limit, and I had pretty much stopped using this thing at this point. And, next thing I know, I'm at, $40,000, $75,000 limit on a credit card that I never use. So it just became my ability to pay a certain amount of money that they thought I could cover. So it's all in a matter of their opinion of what I can cover debt to income wise.
So a couple of other things we wanted to hit on here, I think, kind of go together. So what do we do about credit cards and teenagers? What are options for secured credit cards? I think those both kind of go hand in hand. So one of my unofficial daughters is, 25 years old, never had credit, period. Wants to know what to do. Well, at this point, you can try to get a credit card, but it's probably going to be tough. You might have to go the secured credit card route, which still builds you interest. And my advice to her was go with a small amount. Try to find a $200 secured credit card, which, basically that means you're funding it with $200. You can use it for up to $200. And then, it cuts you off. You can't use it for any more until, that bill is paid. So that would be the first thing I recommend as far as cards for teenagers. I don't think there's a specific card that, you say, hey, this is a great option for teenagers. I think what you do is if you're a parent, so, Nick is a long ways from this. His daughter's 4. Umer's a long way from this. His son's 1.5. Mike's not quite as far. We're hitting double digits with Max and his daughter's, almost there. And what you do is when they get to that point, if they're not responsible, you just stick them on yours and you don't let them have it. If they're responsible, you can let them have your card and say, hey, listen, everything you do, I see.
Yep.
Many of your companies will allow you to put a limit on how much that specific card is allowed to spend at a time. So you can say, this card can spend $30, $40, $50 a day, whatever. You just set that limit as. That way they can learn about it, because that's the one thing we're not giving any kids is a healthy respect for their finances. They don't go through that. They learn algebra, which is great, and geometry and calculus, and these are all great things. You should learn those things. But they don't sit there and take a real math class where they're learning, what is debt? How do I write a check? How do I open a checking account? What's a direct deposit? They don't learn any of those things. So they don't have any of those skills. So that's really our job as parents, to teach them those things. So I know it was important for me, when my daughter hit a certain age, that here's your credit card. I see everything you do. If you do something I don't agree with, we're going to have a really long talk, and we're going to figure out if that's something you need. And I can honestly say I never had an issue. She was great with her cards.
Well, I think, it goes back, it's a tool to teach, right? I mean, I have a few friends that, their parents gave them credit cards, and they were allowed, a certain amount per month. And, if we went out there, they would be like, hey, can I pick up this bill? They'd have to call their parents and things like that. And so what I'm planning to do with my kid is get her one, or put her on mine. It builds it, and allow her to go have some fun with limitations. Right? There's going to be consequences, but I'm not going to set myself up for failure and let her have access to $40,000. That's just crazy. What kid isn't going to go out and spend it? So it's a good tool to teach responsibility financially, and that's the biggest key here.
Well, I'm interested because we have Mike and Umer both here. I kind of want to know, because you both have kids at different ages. What are your thoughts on your kids and when it comes time to maybe introducing these things to them? So, Umer, you want to go first, because yours is obviously the youngest child that we have out of the 4 of us.
Sure. I mean, my whole idea is to teach him about debt and credit way before he even knows what a credit card is, starting with allowance. Like, hey, here's $10. Now, if you don't use any of that and you leave it with me, next week I'll give you 12. If you use it all, well, then I'm going to give you 8 next week instead of 10. And just sort of teach him, the longer you leave your money alone, the more it'll grow. And
I think that's see how that goes. I think it's a great thing. Really, I do. I know our plans already, and we're trying to do it with my daughter, is to get her to write down how much she has in her piggy bank, or how much she deposits, and keep a journal. We have her doing a couple other things, like a donation pile, and just to keep track of everything. And if she keeps her journal up to date, we fund it more. If she doesn't keep her journal up to date, then it costs her money because she didn't pay her bill off. So
that's great.
I like what you're doing with that. So, and Mike, do you have any plans for what you're going to do with your kids? I mean, are you even going to put them on a credit card? Are you going to give them a debit card, prepaid Visa, something like that?
I'm definitely thinking it might depend on the kid too, because like Max, I trust him fully. I could give him a $200 limit credit card or something like that, and he's probably only going to use it, you know, and I tell him, you know, if you're going out with friends and everybody else has cash and you want to put it on a card and get everybody to pay you cash. I mean, I do that enough just, again, to get, you know, when I go out with people, sometimes just to get the points on my credit card, and, you know, because they're going to just pay cash, and, you know, I'm like, good, give me the cash, I'll spend it or deposit it into my bank, and, you know, so, but my daughter, she may get one that she never sees. She may, that may be
Yep.
just be me helping her build credit until she's mature enough to handle it. Fortunately, being divorced, it's hard to be in agreement with from a financial stance, because, you know, I have to then make sure my ex is okay with me giving, and, you know, we kind of have different stances. They do a lot of chores at their mom's house for, you know, no real benefit to them, whereas I try to get them to do things and give them, you know, a little bit of money for, you know, helping me vacuum, helping me, you know, rake the leaves, you know, that kind of stuff.
Sure. David, I wanted to go back to your 25-year-old,
Yeah.
you know, not your daughter. You know, one thing, you know, I think credit is a good asset to have. If she's looking to buy a house, right? Yes, you can certainly buy a house without credit, right? But you're going to have a substantial amount of money down compared to somebody who has credit, you know? And so, you know, if they're a saver and things like that, and they want to run life with no credit, that's perfectly fine with it. But, you know, if they're looking to go into the next thing, like buy a house with FHA of, you know, 3% down, yeah, you know, you're going to want to build that. So it's a matter of where they see their self kind of going. You know, and then for myself, like, I'm hoping my kid has credit by 18 so she can buy a house the day she graduates high school. So, you know, I think it becomes that. So if this person have goals that they want to hit and they know it's going to be right, then certainly start with a $2 secured card. From there, she'll get offers for an unsecured credit card. And then it'll kind of go into the thing I talked about earlier, where it just kind of keeps growing for them as their credit score goes up. So, you know, I've seen it too many times though, where my friends, you know, they're younger, they get a house, and then we talked about financing furniture, and they finance furniture, and then they're like, oh, I want new appliances because, you know, it's the thing you do. So then they go finance all these appliances, and then everything's just a huge monthly payment. So I you know, again, just I would give her the suggestion of make sure she's responsible with it. Start small. You know, I love secured credit cards. As much as they're a pain in the butt to have to put the money there, it teaches you that, are you going to be the kind of person to pay it back? Are you going to be, you know, are you going to be the person to pay it back? So, you know, with you guys having, you know, 30 credit cards, right? You're logging into your accounts, you're checking them daily. I check my bank account 5 times a day. It's just a habit thing. You know, I just don't want to go in to check a million other accounts. So, you know, if you're the kind of person that just wants to, you know, once a month, you know, check your account to make sure that you're on the right path and you have a savings for the just in case. Yeah, one credit card, perfect, right? Pay it off and make sure you don't carry that balance over. So I think you and I are on the agreement. Good suggestion with a $200 secured credit card, or you know, $500 secured credit card, whatever they're choosing. There's and now, where did you tell her to go get that card at?
We didn't really discuss where she was going to get it at, and I mean, you bring up a great point, because when my daughter was looking for a house, she only had to bring 3% to the table. If my non-daughter was looking for a house, she'd have to bring 20%. There's just no doubt.
Yep.
She's not at the point where she wants to do anything yet, so we didn't sit down and look at, hey, these are the options that you have. I told her, I said, when you're ready, We'll sit down, we'll look at it. I'll make my suggestions for this is the card I would go with, and we'll see what happens. But we didn't get into specifics of secured cards yet because she's just not there yet.
Sure. So, and I think you said we had another question from somebody.
Well, we had a couple more on here that we wanted to hit. So these two both kind of go together. It's what's the right number of credit cards, and what is your debt to credit ratio? What should that be? So I'm going to hit the number of credit cards first. It really depends on the person. If you're starting out, 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most. You know, if you show you're responsible and you're one of these people like Ummer or me who love spreadsheets and want to track everything in the world, then you can handle 20, 25 credit cards and not have an issue, because I look at my balances every day on every credit card I have. I have a whole spreadsheet that lists every credit card out, what the advantages is to having those, and I know what card to use before I go to an establishment to use it, because I know where I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck. But you have to know, you really have to sit down and analyze who you are as a person before, hey, this is the certain number of cards I need. If you're starting out, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You know, if you've been building credit for 10 or 12 years, that's a great question.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's a matter of person to person who you are, right? I mean, there's some people that shouldn't have a credit card. I'll be honest. You know, I know people that, given any opportunity, they'll spend money, they'll max out a credit card, go into another shop, and max out, get a discount, max out that credit card, and then complain that their monthly payment, they have four minimum monthly payments of $25 a piece, and it's $100, just right there. So I always suggest start out small, and make sure that you can do it, right? Make sure you're taking the steps, logging on every month, paying it off every month. Go to the second one, because we talked about some of the things, right? If you get one that's specifically for all your daily things, for the points, and then you are traveling, right? Get one for travel as well, right? So I mean, every time you're on a flight, every time you do that, there's nothing wrong with having it, as long as you set into place specific things to do every month, and you hit those things, right? Just like a budget. Make sure it's there, make sure it gets paid. That's the biggest key to me. For debt to income percent, personally, nobody knows the actual algorithm of how to get it perfect. Everybody always, oh, what's your credit score? And, to me, I've never gone into a place and gotten a better rate for having an 800 credit score versus, a 760 credit score. Basically what I'm finding is, somewhere between that 720, one time I had 740 come up as like, hey, you get a 25 or 0.25% discount for having this. So I would say if you're at 740 and above, it doesn't really matter what that number is. It still screams good credit. Like, you're not going to get any more discounts anywhere you go. I guess, I've never heard of a credit card that says you have to have, 800 to have a gold plated one, anything like that. So having good credit, or excellent is what they call it, so basically 740. I find personally, stay in that 30%, right? So if you have a $10,000 or $1,000 limit, right, spend $300, right? If you're halfway through the month and you're going to go spend something, go in and make the payment quickly, keep it below, and then kind of go back into it, and never really reach above. Never go above 50% is my kind of true guidelines, I guess. Never go above 50. But 30 is where you want to keep it around there, and then pay it off. 30%, build it up. And, if you're finding that you're spending a little bit more money, call the credit card company and say, hey, I'd like a little bit bigger of a credit limit. And honestly, they want to give you a credit limit higher because they assume you're going to spend it. So, I think 30% is my number. What are your feelings on percentage, David?
I would say 30 to 35%. I really don't like to go higher than that. You have to realize they're looking at making money in two ways. One, there's a fee every time you run your credit card. So as a business owner, I know this. I know if I run somebody's credit card, I'm not getting $20. I'm probably getting $18. That's the cost of doing business. You deal with it, you move on. Their way of making real money is the people that don't know how to pay their bills and are carrying a balance every month. They love those people if you're carrying a balance every month. They don't want the people that are late, because if you're late, there's that possibility you may never pay your bill. But if you carry a balance every month and then charge you 20%, they love you. You are their favorite customer. So don't be that guy. Be the guy that pays off that bill every month. And one of the other things that, I highly suggest is sign up for one of these free credit services. So like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, one of those, you can monitor your credit report. You can monitor your credit score. A lot of the credit cards out there will let you monitor your credit score. It's fantastic. It's free. You don't have to pay Equifax, $10 a month to do this. You can just get it done and not worry about it again. So that's kind of our spiel on credit cards. What was that, Nick?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I want to talk about Credit Karma real quick. If you could tell what benefits, I guess, are of that, that'd be great.
So with Credit Karma, you sign up, and what it will do is a soft pull on your credit report. So it will show you everything that's out there on your credit report. It'll give you a approximate credit score, so that if you have, you'll have at least some idea of this is where I fall. I'm a 650, I'm a 700, I'm a 750. It'll kind of give you an idea of what that is. They can also give credit card recommendations for, these are cards that we think you should apply for. You might get, approved. And then if you look at your credit report, you can figure out, okay, well, there's some discrepancies here. I need to dispute with the credit agency to get this off, or this doesn't look right, so I need to get that fixed. And anything that isn't correct on your credit report, you should be looking at this at least yearly. Anything that's not right, you can get fixed, and that will obviously up your score every time something like that gets fixed.
Sure. Let's say, this video is David and I talked about it. This video is getting pretty lengthy. We could talk about credit cards kind of all day. I wanted to say that this video this week is sponsored by my own homebrew of I have a nice peach mango cider that my wife and I made. So that's what I've kind of been drinking on all day. It's great and refreshing. But I think we're gonna do another video here just a little bit about debt consolidation. We'll post I think we're gonna do a double header today.
We are. We're going to kind of split this because, the other topic we have really goes with this, but we don't want to make the video too long. So just to give you a little background, if you're interested in that video. So Nick had brought it up earlier. Some people should never have credit cards. So we're going to talk about debt consolidation and dealing with debt collectors. I'm going to talk about one of my best friends who Mike knows very, very well. We've known the guy for over 25 years. And even though he's older than me, for a while, he became my unofficial son because he had to go to the Bank of David and take out money to pay off credit cards because he dated a girl that wasn't very responsible and he wasn't responsible enough and ran up a bunch of credit. So, if you like this video, you're going to love that video because we're going to talk about, how to fix boo-boos out there that we probably shouldn't have done. So,
right.
Go ahead,
I want
Nick.
to say, speaking of liking this video, if you guys could like it, throw it the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you guys can get some updates. It might help us reach a couple more people. I mean, we're finding that we're reaching people in Australia kind of by accident, and we want it to be on purpose. So do us a little favor, like it, subscribe to it. cheers to you guys, and we'll see a couple of you guys right back to do another video. So.